Jashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Bona Chari Jamuna Tira Bona Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Varadhari Jashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Bona Chari Jamuna Tira Bona Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupada Paramahansa Pribra Jakacharya Shima, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, the Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Shla Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki, Namacharya Shla Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Segaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki, Shishi Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kundigiri Govardhana Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki, Shri Mayapur Dhama Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Jamuna Mai Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulasi Devi Ki, Samaveta Bhaktivedanta Ki, Jainatai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, Jaya. Interesting, this picture of Rupa and Sanatan, because it has them holding books with paper or writing on paper, when technically at that time they were using palm leaves. But the interesting thing was Akbar had actually given paper to Rupa Goswami. So he actually wrote Nectar, Devotion, and possibly some of these others actually on paper. Yeah. So Rupa Goswami was right on the cutting edge, right, of publishing technology there. Because, Akbar as the emperor would have gotten these things first. And so then I think maybe when Rupa Goswami came down to answer the question about the Jamuna, which was more sacred, the Jamuna or the Ganga, and so at that time he gave him paper. You know that story? You don't know that story? Really? I'm impressed. Like that. He who is the best friend of the storyteller, right? So. No, that's Haridas. That's on music. That's another one. Yeah, that one's There's a few pastimes with. So they were in Akbar's court. Somehow or another, discussion came up which is more sacred, the Jamuna or Ganga, and all the pundits, no one could answer. So then I'm not sure who brought it up, but they said that Rupa Goswami could answer. So then Akbar, I think, sent some messengers to see if he would come to the court. And he said he would come only on the condition if he could bring him down and back the same day. So the emperor, he could do that. Different horses, different, he could just, yeah. So he arranged that, and he came down and he spoke in the court and answered the questions, about how they're, technically the same, but because Krishna's bathed in it, that's why then it's 1,000 times more, or 100 times, I'm not sure which is of more sacred than the Ganga. Right, and then in the Ganges, then the place where Lord Chaitanya bathed, then in Mayapur, then that's that same quality or even more like that. But so then Akbar was pleased, and I guess maybe at that time he gave him the paper, or it's somehow or another arranged that he got whenever he got paper, and he took back. And there was one of the court scribes. Then they, on the wall there or something, then they drew a picture. I think whoever big people come, they would document it. So there's that one picture where you see Rupa Goswami kind of in the Vajrasan, and he's leaning forward like that, just making a point, speaking like that. That's the court picture of him. Yeah, so that's at Akbar's court, answering that question. Oh.
And what we have is a small little section that's Rupa Goswami.
Okay.
The larger picture has Akbar
Oh.
licenses.
Wow.
And then behind him are his
Court pundits.
soldiers.
Oh, wow. Wow. Written. Okay.
1,000 people.
Okay.
The curator or whoever, the chief librarian, showed that photo, that painting to devotees, and they asked, and the other couple said, look, I'll give you that part. Under it says Rupa Baba, it's written.
Oh, Rupa Baba. Okay. Yeah.
That's how we got it.
Okay. Okay, they got it from there. Yeah, is that picture in here? Yeah, you don't see that picture so often. No, it doesn't seem to have any pictures. Maybe here. No. No. Has a similar kind of thing, this one, but it's not that original.
Yeah, so they based that one
On that one, yeah. Yeah, so that's... So Nectar Devotion was written on paper, like that. Okay, so then we're discussing text 4. So we'll just read out so we get the context of it. Okay, in text 1, Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jihwa Vegam, Udaropasta Vegam. Etan Vegan Yo Vishaheta Dira, Sarvam Apiman, Pritivim Sashishyat. Vegan, the word means urges. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Right? So the idea is that if you can control the senses, that will be the way that devotional service will go forward very nicely. Then the second one, Atyahara prayasascha, prajalpo niyamagraha, janasangas chalalyam cha, shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5, associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6, being greedy for mundane achievements. And so if there's too much emphasis on the material, that will always create a problem. Because the idea is we're engaging the material activities, the situation we're in, our conditioning and all that. But it's never beyond what's necessary. So how much is necessary, that much is done. But beyond that, then it's not done. Then the third one. Utsahan nishchaya daryat tat tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat satovrite shadbir bhakti prasidyati. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulated principles, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of devotional service. Yeah, it's also interesting is that Prabhupada defines enthusiasm as endeavoring with intelligence, like that. So it's not a sentiment. It's actually with intelligence. Then you see this is what should be done, and then you're committed to that, and then you make an endeavor. So this brings us to text 4. Dadati pratigrihnati guhyam akyati prichati bhunkte bojayate chaiva shadvidam priti lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Purport. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional activities in the association of other devotees. There are 6 kinds of activities. 1, giving charity to the devotees. 2, accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return. 3, opening one's mind to the devotees. 4, inquiring from them about the confidential service of the Lord. 5, honoring prasadam, or spiritual food given by the devotees. And 6, feeding the devotees with prasadam. An experienced devotee explains, and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is guhyam akyati prichiti. When a devotee distributes prasad, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasadam as the Lord's grace, received through the pure devotees. We should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasad, and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called bhunkte bojayate. Even in ordinary social activities, these 6 types of dealings between 2 loving friends are absolutely necessary. For instance, when one businessman wishes to contact another businessman, he arranges a feast in a hotel, and over the feast he openly expresses what he wishes to do. He then inquires from his business friend how he should act, and sometimes presents are exchanged. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of priti, or love in intimate dealings, these 6 activities are executed. In the previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised that one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees, sangatyagat satovrite. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. So, as we said, the association is the main principle on which devotional service thrives. And so in that association, these activities are being done. So then Srila Prabhupada is saying is that the society has been, established to facilitate these 6 kinds. So it says ISKCON's established to create the opportunities for association, then it means these 6 kinds. That's then what is there. So many other things can be done, the hearing, the chanting, all these aspects. But this is the format in which it's there, that reciprocal aspect between the devotees. So this is then what is the purpose of the society, So then how nicely one can make arrangements to do that, then that is the success. So in this way one can make big arrangements, and all these things can go on very, very nicely. Or one can have a very simple kind of arrangement, but the point is that association is the actual purpose. Other things are actually only judged in accordance with how they support that association. Right? This society was started single-handedly, but because people are coming forward and experiencing the give and take policy, the society is now expanding all over the world. We are glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities, and the people are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contribution we are giving them in the shape of books and magazines, dealing strictly with the subject matter of Krishna consciousness. Right, so then that's the how Prabhupada explains this whole process of interaction in when you're making it available. Then people, they come in contact, they hear, we offer what we can in the way of Krishna consciousness and books and facilities, and they reciprocate in whatever way they can. So that's actually what's going on. So when he describes book distribution, he's seeing it from this angle. You're giving knowledge of Krishna consciousness, they're appreciating that, then reciprocating with whatever they can do in the way of donations or time or energy, whatever it is. So that's actually what's going on. So it's not that it's a business as such, or it's an economic element, that comes anyway. Right? That's the whole thing, is when there's loving exchanges, then things are prosperous. Because then there's always that exchange, always these things like that. People do their occupations, they get facility, but then in personal exchange, that's then where these elements become then shared. So, makes sense? Yeah, so it should be seen as that these things are happening on the ashram side. These are happening in that devotional side. Does that make sense? Yeah. We sometimes hold Hare Krishna festivals and invite life members and friends to participate in the feasting by accepting prasadam. Thank you. Although most of our members come from the higher rungs of society, they nonetheless come and take whatever little prasadam we are able to offer them. Sometimes the members and supporters inquire very confidentially about the methods of performing devotional service. We try to explain this. In this way, our society is successfully spreading all over the world, and the intelligentsia of all countries is gradually appreciating our Krishna conscious activities. Right? So when it's based on this principle, then it's appreciated. Because otherwise, if it's a matter of it's being presented from, a more what would you say, more kind of institutional or the social or economic or these kind of intellectual, these kind of platforms, then one is going to be appreciated in one circle and not in another, because there's always going to be differences of what somebody considers to be proper. So, but if it's being done in the connection of Krishna, then it's whatever we can offer, then as devotees, then that simplicity that's there, and then that works very, very well. People appreciate. Because when Prabhupada says here is that these wealthy people and these intelligentsia of the society are coming forward, then especially in India, the ability of what they can do, what they can cook, what they can arrange is phenomenal. So for us, just some little, rice dal and some sabji, some whatever little things like that. For them, that's very simple, or especially like in Bengal, khichdi. That's the simplest preparation. But they come and happily honor this because it's prasad and it's in the association of devotees. So they appreciate that aspect. Because otherwise, when it comes to material facilities and social things like that, they know how to do that. But so they don't turn to us for that. That's not their interest. So it's not we're going to impress them that we're so sophisticated that they will come forward, and as sophisticated people they will want to take part. Because actually it's because of the devotional, because of the spiritual, people are attracted. Because when it comes to sophisticated, on what level, on who, because everybody has their own idea of what sophistication is. So that from that platform, you can't actually be very broad. You know, like as Srila Prabhupada was seeing, he was going to when he first came to New York, and he stayed with was it Dr. Misra, who was, you know, running a yoga studio and teaching. So he was, I think his studio was in the Upper West Side. So that's considered to be a very, you know, established and wealthy area. I'm not sure. I think the East Side's a little bit more upbeat, but the West Side was the very established. And so everyone who was coming there was from these very wealthy and well-to-do families and all that. But he was just basically teaching some yoga and some little bit of this and that. And whenever Prabhupada would want to speak some serious philosophy, then Dr. Misra said, now Swamiji will lead a kirtan. He would always go into, which is, you know, okay, but the kirtan they'd hear that. And then he would cook prasad and stuff like this. So he could see that you're not going to get very far here because the people weren't so interested. It was just, you know, some aspect of the Vedic culture through yoga was presented in a sophisticated way. And so that was an attraction for them. But it wasn't like serious Krishna consciousness was being discussed. So that's when then he got the opportunity. He was invited down to the Lower East Side, which is the opposite end of the social scale. Like that. Now it's a bit more upbeat, but at that time that was like Skid Row. That literally where our temple was in front on the Bowery there. That was considered, you know, how you say. In those days, then, if you were homeless, that's where you went. Now you go and park in front of the bank. I think it is, right? Yeah, it's like that. Otherwise, in those days, you went there, like that. And so then sometimes Prabhupada to get into Second Avenue, he'd have to actually step over the derelicts because they'd be so drunk and just laying there in the street. Yeah, so then from there, then people took it very seriously, and then it grew, and then you'd catch these same kind of individuals from these higher rungs of society who were interested in God consciousness, rather than just it was, you know, something of, you know, more of an interest sake, like, you know, in general, the European aristocracy is always and has been interested in the Oriental, you know, kind of aspects, Orientalism since, you know, way back, I think, in the 1700s and things like that. It's more of an interest sake, something to discuss, something to, you know, since they have nothing to do anyway, so, you know, it keeps them busy with something fresh and different than whatever it is than their, you know, crumpets and scones and stuff like that, you know. Doesn't mean they don't eat those also, but at least means it changes the conversation. Oh, we're having scones again. Oh, how lovely. Yes, so something new, right? The Swami. Yes, the Swami. Yes, something unique. Oh, yes. You have a guru. Okay. All right, because here it says, Prabhupada says, they ask confidence, and we try to explain this, and we give, you know, our humble contribution. We're giving the shapes of books and magazines. So we're just seeing, we're trying to do the best we can, and in this way, give something for Krishna. So if there's any aspect of that sophistication, it's just that some may feel the approachability, but that's not how you're going to oppress someone, because whatever you have in the way of you know, the social environment, someone's always got more. You know, so it's never going to. You can't impress people that way. One or two, and then someone will come along that has more, and everyone goes that way. You know, that's the cliche. You know, it's like the guy comes out on the street, and everybody's, you know, all the paparazzi are around and this and that until they find someone who's bigger, then they all run off and go after that one, and he just left standing there, you know, so yeah. In this way, our society is successfully spreading all over the world, and the intelligentsia of all countries is gradually appreciating our Krishna consciousness activities. The life of the Krishna conscious society is nourished by these 6 types of loving exchange among the members. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so devotees then, if they're associating based on these 6, then the opportunity is given for others to come and also associate with devotees based on these 6. And then that taste that they're looking for will be there. That's the thing, is people are looking for this kind of interaction. And then you have this interaction based on Krishna consciousness, then it just makes it so much better. But otherwise in culture, society, these 6 are going on anyway. But they're generally used for a purpose of, politics, or economic development, maybe, some personal, society, friendship, love, these kind of aspects. They're all temporary. But here, then, the original, as Rupa Goswami mentions, it's about the exchange based on the transcendental platform. So this is how things go on in the spiritual world. So then it's a natural or very comfortable interaction. Because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. In the Bhagavad Gita 2:62, it is stated, Sangat sanjayate kama. One's desires and ambitions develop according to the company one keeps. It is often said that a man is known by his company, and if an ordinary man associates with devotees, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness. The understanding of Krishna consciousness is innate in every living entity, and is already developed to some extent when the living entity takes a human body. Yeah. So these things are the most covered. As you go down in the species of life, it becomes more and more covered. But as you come up to human, then it's uncovered, but how much people will take advantage of it, how much they'll use it. But then coming in contact with the devotees, then one learns how to use this fully and nicely, because it says that by practicing these 6, you can certainly develop one's dormant Krishna consciousness. It can be full, yes. No, it's not a matter. It means the process is whenever you have a question, you just ask. It means at least let me finish the sentence, but otherwise, yes.
Yesterday you mentioned that when we're saying things and going around the world, we take what's value for us.
Yes. On the value.
When we're going around, we take what's value.
Means we perceive the world through our senses. That's our field of activity. Right? Now, all the information coming in through the senses, which information we take as important and focus on, because you can't focus on all the information. I think in a modern study they documented that, I forget, it's something like 40,000 bits of information come in, I think, a minute. Huh? Oh, so maybe that's a second. So then it's something ridiculous, the amount of information that's coming in. So all that's coming in, but you, according to your values, you're going to reduce it down to one thing, because you can only deal with one thing at a time. Like that. I think Churchill's famous for making that statement. Right? So you can only deal with one aspect at a time. So which aspect you'll do, that would be based on your values. So that's based on the impressions you've gotten from your previous activities. That's based on your identity. Right? So whatever your false identity is, that's then whatever work you do, that gives you the impressions. Therefore, when this cycle starts again, you'll start it with those impressions. And so you'll use that as a filter. Does that make sense? Are you doing the same thing with Krishna? There may be, but the point is if it's connected to Krishna, then at least you're dealing with the transcendental platform. It may have that aspect of being mixed, so it's not pure devotional service. But the point is it's in contact with Krishna. So by being in contact with Krishna, you'll get purified. And so if you continue that process, and in the association of devotees, then we hear more and more about the confidential aspects of devotional service, so we improve the quality of our devotional service. Then that mixed aspect gets less and less. Does that make sense? So the process works very nicely because let's say, as we discussed, let's say you have two persons interested in, performing mixed devotional service, right? Or even three, that one is looking at, they're all three performing the same devotional service. They all have the same mixes of their interest in something else other than pure devotional service. But for the karmi, then his performance of mixed devotional service is only to attain that mixed aspect that he wants, that material aspect he wants. And once he gets that, he'll stop the devotion. Right? The jnani, then, he's also performing the same activity. Right? And he's seeing the benefit of liberation. Once he has that, then he'll also stop. The devotee, he's performing the same thing, and he may have that interest in karma or jnana, but even if he gets those things, he continues on with the devotional service because his actual ultimate goal is developing pure love for Krishna. Does that make sense? So the process of mixed devotional service is the same for anybody who's dealing. Does that make sense? So even let's say you have a Smarta Brahmin, and they're Vaishnavas, and you have a problem with Brahmins, you're not a Dravidian. Okay. As soon as I said Smarta Brahmins, you got this look on your face. I was thinking, okay, wrong example. Okay. So they may be doing the same activities, but their purpose is different. You know what I'm saying? So it would appear that in activity they're performing devotional service, but technically they're only performing devotional service to get their mundane aspects. So technically we won't call it devotional service. I think we call that reflected devotional service. So it's mixed, but it's reflected. So they do what the Vaishnavas do, but it's not actually real. While the devotees, when they're mixed, then that's considered the shadow. That'll be Abbas, Bhakti Abbas. But the other one is, what is it? Pratibimba or something like that, yeah. So it looks the same, like Sahajiyas. They may perform the same activity, but it's not actually for developing pure devotional service. There's some other aspects. So that's the thing is in the beginning we take up devotional service because, the devotees are doing it. But if you look around, sometimes we can get bewildered because, the yoga studios are also doing kirtan and others are also doing worship of Krishna and this and that. And think that it's all the same or it doesn't matter or other sampradayas. But the point is that the process is the same, just like if you're going to cook some potatoes. Right? There's not going to be a difference between a sinful person, a pious person, a devotee, a Mayavadi, a Buddhist. It means if they're cooking the potatoes, they're going to cook them. The process is the same. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's the whole thing is that those mechanics are the same because their origin is devotional service. Right? So whatever the Vedic culture's origin is the Vedic. Is the original, the spiritual culture in the spiritual world. But when it comes down here, then it's meant for pure devotional service. But because people may not be attracted by that, then these slower paths in which they will perform karma and jnana, but they'll still follow all the environment that is there that's favorable for pure devotion. So it'll be the same. Right? Just like, let's say, coming to India in the 70s, then the facilities that were there were so favorable for devotional service. Any kind of the paraphernalia and deities and deity worship and clothes and cloth and anything that we would use in a temple and a devotional life was readily available because everybody used it. They may be using it for karma or jnana and following the same processes as us. But it was available because, so that's the whole point, is that when the karmas and jnanis follow the Vedic principle and follow the devotional activities, it makes, even though they don't get devotional benefit from it, they create a favorable environment for the devotees to follow. Does that make sense? And as they give that up and take up more of the modern kind of lifestyle, these things become less and less and harder to find. Does that make sense? That's there. But that's why the Vedic thing is that anybody following the Vedic, in the Vedas, basically, the religious process is basically the same. Philosophically, they may have some difference. So who they're applying the religious system to, that will be the difference. But let's say you want to offer an arti to Krishna, or you want to offer it to Ram, or you want to offer it to Durga. It's the same thing. You're going to have a lamp, you're going to have incense, you're going to have flowers, you're going to wave it in circles. You understand? It's not different. You know what I'm saying? So that's the same. That's the mechanics of something. Like if you want to peel a potato, it doesn't matter if you're a pure devotee or a liberated devotee or a intermediate devotee or neophyte devotee or a pious person or, Al Capone. It doesn't matter. You're going to peel the potatoes in the same way. Of course, Al Capone might hold the gun to some guy's head and tell him to peel the potatoes, then, like that. He's not going to get his fingers dirty like that, So that's another thing. But the point is the mechanics of the potato getting peeled will be the same. The extra ornaments to the environment, then that may be, have its own flavor. We have to be able to distinguish this, because otherwise then we become bewildered. That we think it's just anything along this line, because the only thing that works in this world is bhakti, because it is the original, it's what it's for. And so the closer people come to following that, the better results they get. But so where you have to tell the differences in the consciousness, what's their intent, what's their purpose. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Like that, yes.
I'll ask you about the point of giving gifts.
Mm-hmm.
It's mentioned that they are a mean to achieve a loving relationship.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I want to ask you if there's more knowledge, practical knowledge, or culture of giving gifts, because are they supposed to be, are we focusing on the intention of giving gifts? Are we focusing on the practical element? Is there also the etiquette of receiving gifts? Is there gifts that we're never able to use? Like every year there's $5 million wasted in unwanted gifts in Australia. As long as we get gifts and we don't know what to do with them, so are we still taking them, not taking? You offer gifts to, according to Varna, ashram, or what's the...
Oh, okay.
How to understand
the detail of gifts. Okay.
Yeah, because often it could be also exploited that you give gifts to achieve something and then...
Means the point is as Prabhupada pointed, he's talking about businessmen, and they're totally doing that. But he's just saying it's the culture. So we have to be careful that we don't throw out the culture because someone's misusing it. Because sometimes, but that's, they're just businessmen, and that's just, so we just throw it out. No, because that's also then when it mentioned the previous verse, in niyamagrahas, you have those that follow the rules and regulations just to follow the rules, because they want structure, they want this, or they're pious and that. And there's those who throw them out because they don't know why they're there, and so then they act whimsically. So the structure remains, the whole idea of human society is the elevation of consciousness, because otherwise human beings do the same thing as the animals. They eat, sleep, mate, and defend. It's the same thing. It's just they have on top of that the opportunity to elevate the consciousness, because otherwise anything that people get into is already going on in the animal society. Like that. So it's not that it's something new and different. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the elevation of consciousness is the only thing that sets us apart. Yeah. Yes. So then in this is that there's the first class gift is giving something that is unasked for. Second class will be something that is asked for, or that like that. And then I can't remember what's third. Maybe something that they don't want or something like that. How you say? Yeah, like that. And so you have that aspect. So then in the relationship, the more you know the person, know that their interest, you're paying attention. So when something comes up in a conversation or this and that, you catch that, and then you can arrange those kind of things. But otherwise, then if you don't know, then better it's something that they would be interested in or they would want. So then I think even in the modern, to try to reduce that, I think for the weddings, and that the couple goes out and registers things that they're interested in, and then you buy from there rather than ending up with all kinds of stuff that you really wish you didn't have, Then you have the aspect of, it's generally within the context of things that people require and need. So before it would be easier because people only worked in things that were needed. And then according to as you said, according to their occupation, social position and all that, then there would be naturally understood what's useful in these things. So then, depending upon, if they're doing puja, then things for them, for the deities, things for them personally, so anything in the way of their clothes or stuff that they would use. And so if you're following the tradition, it makes it easier because then it falls within standard categories that you can always use. The modern, it may get a little bit more difficult, But, yeah. Then, if you stick within things that are auspicious, then that's always there, especially if you're dealing on that kind of more based on something centered around the deities. It's like you have your list outside, what's good. So these are the kind of standard kind of things. But otherwise, if you know the person, then you would give. Now in gaining things, then you gain things. Once you gain them, when somebody gives you something, it's accepted. But now, once you have it, now you're responsible for it. Now, if it's something that you can use, then you keep it and use it. If not, then it's your duty to then find someone else who could use it, who would appreciate it. And so that may take some thought and everything like that too. Then who would best be able to use that, and then that's given there.
This is I think, original trouble when he brought ghee from Australia and gave it to Prabhupada. And then when he went to Mayapur, he said that Prabhupada gave the ghee to someone else, I think to Madhavisa Prabhu or someone.
Okay.
And he wasn't happy about it. But then later found out that Prabhupada actually sold that ghee to that devotee, and then he was happy.
He sold it.
Prabhupada sold it.
Okay.
He gave Prabhupada to him, and he knows ghee, quality ghee, and Prabhupada, you can buy it.
Yeah, so if you're not going to use it, then that aspect is there. See, the thing is, if it's more personal things than that, things you use, or then you have to be, careful how it's given. One sense, if you give a gift, it's natural then, however they'll use it in that, but then you also can choose who you give what and how much, because the benefit will always be there. And that if they require, because then it's something that they require. So if it's something they don't require, then it's not as from our side, it wasn't as good a gift. Because they're looking at it, my gift is fabulous, and then he gave it away. But then, like that. You also have then how people see it. I remember had one friend that I'd give him all kinds of really nice stuff, but because he had more of a business kind of way of looking at it, then he'd be very happy with the nice stuff because it was something he could sell, or trade for something else that he wanted and things like that. So in the beginning, it kind of annoyed me, but then thinking about it, that's how he dealt and that was what made him happy. So the gift was very valuable to him because then he could use it for, the economic exchange and all that. But in the beginning, no, I gave it to you, why aren't you using it? But to him is anything, because he lived simply, so anything good he got, he would use it to get other things, whatever he was interested in or needed at that time. So it's also then there's that aspect of the person you're giving to. So one has to be careful like that. So you also have, if you know that someone's like that, then if you do give it away, make sure you give it to somebody who will end up somewhere else, like that. And that's That's, like I've seen some who have to deal with this, and somebody will give them stuff when they're at one place. They won't give it to anyone in that place. When they go to the next place, then they'll give it there, like that. Or I've even seen is that you get so many of the notes and things like that, and you can't carry those all around with you. But they'll only distribute them or get rid of them at the next place, not at that place. So there's always that consideration of how to reciprocate those personal things. So it's not just whatever's easiest for you. It has to be what will be practical in consideration of the other individual. So it takes more thought and everything. So if you don't know, then you keep it, right? And then when you find someone, then you give it to them, like that. So then it's always, you're going to see that that's how it would work in the Vedic thing anyway. Things are always moving around. It's just that if it's done on on the spiritual platform, then it works very nicely. If it's done on the material platform, then it doesn't work very well. I can't remember who was that? Bhartrihari? Can't remember whose brother he was. It may have been Chana. Yeah, I can't remember whose brother it was. It's somebody we know. I think a big king or that. He had a brother, and he had his kingdom. So somebody, I think, had given a craftsman had made this like perfect, I think, solid gold or a golden mango, and it was just so perfect and all that. And they made it and gave it to the king. The king was then very pleased with it, did a nice offering. And so because it was so nice, he gave it to his wife. Then his wife then was, very pleased with it. And then she gave it to her lover. Then the lover, because then there was somebody who was bringing him there, was transporting and then taking back and that, because they were loyal and everything like that and kept everything quiet and all that, being pleased with him, he gave it to him. And then this, you could say like the chauffeur, And the chauffeur, because he's just a chauffeur, and what's he, something like this is a gift for a king. So he thought, I should offer this to the king. So... Yes, it didn't work out so well. So then the king, understanding the whole scene, I think he turned the kingdom over to I'm not sure who, and then he went and became a sadhu. And then he wrote this whole, I think, Niti Shastra, like based on this and on material relations and how they look one way and they're another and everything like that. So he's famous for that. Yes, so on the mundane platform, there's sometimes the gifts going around doesn't always work out, like that. But on, so if it had been in a positive, so gave it to the wife, and the wife gave it to some Brahmin and all that, and then like this, and then somebody then came and gave it back. Then you see is that circle it's been around, and it's pleasing. But in this way, it didn't work out so good. So, yeah. The more material the motives, the less it'll work out, like that. It means material benefit will be gained, but then with benefit always comes some loss. So in other words, when you're making metal, you always end up with slag, so, yeah. Yeah.
But the old saying, it's just for the count.
Yes.
That exists, so the giving of however it went.
Yes. 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 Yeah. That. Yes.
So, I think we do give gifts. The thing about trying to give gifts is to try and match it personally to
Yes.
the person you're giving it to.
Yes.
And obviously, the better match is if you know someone well enough, because then you're going to be able to know more about them and be able to
give, yes.
would appreciate.
Yes.
So I guess sometimes if you don't know people well, then give something that would be just generic.
Yeah, generic. In other words, all those formal weddings you go to. So then, that always that tea set or the, yeah, toaster, all that.
Another good thing about you these two friends is that you know what they're not going to use and they'll give it back to you.
Indian giving, that's cool.
Yeah, you come out. Oh, no, yeah. Yes.
In Melanesian culture, like Papua New Guinea, they have, like in the tribe, the person who gives the things is seen as the big man. That's like the name that they call that person. The big man.
Okay.
So the big man at any time doesn't have anything. Because he's just given everything. And then the people or the home or the person who's receiving from the big man, that person then displays what they have, but the onus is on them next to do the giving.
Okay.
So it's quite a big responsibility to be the receiver.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's something anthropological,
Okay.
stuff now, that I learned.
Okay, yeah, very nice.
Yeah. The giver is the one who's getting all the respect.
Okay.
And then the person who's receiving has got a burden
Yeah.
that they're next expected to be the giver.
Yes. Yeah, so then you have to find an appropriate recipient. You can't just give it to someone to get rid of it. You have to give it because knowing that they'll be able to appreciate it or use it like that. So that's where the responsibility comes, because opulence is Lakshmi, so then it has to be with someone who's going to properly protect and use, or if not, then they'll be, know how to properly give it to someone else. Like that, yeah. So it goes around. It's like when the kings would give 10,000 cows to the Brahmins. So then the one Brahmin, what'll he do with 10,000 cows? Like that. So he'll keep how many he needs, and then the others then he'll give to other Brahmins. So he may give that all to one Brahmin, and then giving to that one Brahmin, then he'll keep what he needs, and it just keeps going down the line. Or he may divide it up and give so many to different ones. But in any case, it'll just keep going until everybody has their cows like that. Yes?
I think in those tribes, like they don't have any material objects. It's usually the one thing
Oh, okay.
that gets, circulated.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
The person who's got it at the time,
Oh, okay.
the person who's just given it is the one that is the big person for that period of time. Whether
Okay.
it's a year, I don't know.
Okay.
They become like the chief.
Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah. Yes.
Is that not a whole lot to giving, is that you're giving it because you're giving it in love of Krishna and not actually, you're being very thoughtful about what to give someone.
You are or you're not?
You are.
Yes,
You
yes.
want him to be very
Yes,
thoughtful
yes,
and
yes.
handing that gift over, whatever that gift is, whether it's a material gift,
Okay.
or or exchange, you're giving that in, hopefully, the idea is to give it in loving for Krishna.
Right.
Is that,
Yes, it means it's connected with Krishna and the devotees. So the devotees are also, because you have that personal relationship with the devotees too, because they're always connected with Krishna. So that's what makes the devotee special. It means all living entities have that inherent relationship with Krishna, but they're not necessarily acting that way. So then those who are acting as devotees, then those are the ones that we'll be close with. Those who are interested then will show that friendship in the form of compassion and interact to inspire them. But those who are inimical to the process, then for them, then we'll avoid them. Even though technically, as souls, they're servants of Krishna, but at this point in time, they don't want to hear about it. So even if you try, then they may get more disturbed. The more they learn, then the more trouble they can make.
but then you're not looking for a result,
No. Yes, that's another aspect. Yes, it means now we were just talking about what things to give. But Krishna then in the Gita mentions that something given because it's the appropriate thing to do, and it's the proper, for the relation or the situation, and it's being given to a proper person. a proper gift to a proper person at the proper time, in the proper attitude, without desire for results, that's considered the mode of goodness. So if it was being done, having the aspect of devotion to Krishna, the devotees, then they'll take on that aspect of pure goodness. But if all those things are correct, but it's being done with a desire to get some benefit from it, that'll be passion. And then wrong gift, wrong time, wrong person, wrong intent, that's mode of ignorance. So that will be the quality of the giving, like that. Or if you brag about what you've given, then the benefit is lost. Let's say you've given so much in charity, and we did this, and we did that, but you talk about it, the pious act credit you would get for that is lost. So that's why as you give and you don't talk about it, So that's the cultured way of dealing, like that. So, so some people may be disturbed because it's uncultured to talk like that, but talking about how nicely things you did, but the sad part is then they've done all that work, but then they lose the benefit. Because now they're taking the benefit on the social platform rather than taking it in the piety. Whatever results they would get in the future, they're trading that for immediate people appreciating it. So they're getting their benefit, but, it's just kind of shallow. Like that. Yes?
In that regard, what about if, so sometimes there's gifting at other temples or other temples, and then there's a plaque that goes out in appreciation of the gift. Are they losing the benefit because they've already traded it in?
Well, it's one thing is we're putting it there, but if they expect that, then so that people will see it, then to that degree as people, that they're getting that benefit, and then they're losing. Yeah. Plus it makes the temple look really weird. I've seen some I think it was in Lucknow, I went to one temple and everything had a name on it. Yeah, squares. Even the fan had the name written on it, and over the toilet, it didn't say the name. It just said an anonymous donor. So they may have kept their credit, but yeah, those are kind of weird. If the temple wants to give appreciation for that, so many people have helped and all that, and they do something, then they won't lose. But if it's like they say, well, they'll do, but they have to have that recognition, then yes, to that degree you start to lose. Yeah, so it's not a standard thing to do. Because the idea is that you're giving because you should be giving. Like that. You have facility, especially you have more facility, then that definitely is given. But otherwise you always plan that something's going to be used for gifts and exchange and all things like that. Because if you don't, then misers they keep the money. But as Niti Shastra points out, a miser is as good as is no difference between him and a poor man. Because he lives so frugally, and the poor man is living in the same way. So what's the difference? Other than the poor man probably has a more gracious heart than the miser. So that way the miser is going down, while the poor person, if he's, sharing and all that. I remember once it was something, one journalist was caught in some civil war somewhere with and they were there with these, this particular group that was not appreciated by those who had, more political power than them. And so then they were sharing the food in that with them, because they've come from outside. They're a European journalist, but they're sharing their food with them and that. And then the journalist made the point, but this is your food. You're the ones that are having the trouble and all that. And he says, no, as long as we have food, we'll share it. You're worried about sharing the food, but as long as we have, we'll share it. When we don't have any food, we won't share it. That basic thing is you're here, we share, like that. So it's a very different kind of mentality. Like let's say can remember seeing it many, many times. Let's say a group comes, let's say a family, and there's like 20 people in the, in the group. And somebody will go up to the altar or something like that, and then they sometimes distribute some prasad, and they'll get like, let's say, 1 sandesh. But then they'll take that sandesh and very happily take it over, and everybody in the group will get a little bit of the sandesh. So they'll all get prasad. But sometimes you would see in the, the practicalness of the Western mind is what is everybody going to do with, a 20th of a sandesh? It's so small anyway. So then they just figure, at least somebody gets the benefit, so they'll just eat it, but like that kind of thing. But here it's about everyone gets that, that shared. So it's a very different kind of, it's a pious perspective, So within that piety, then you can be very practical, what kind of things to do and all that. So that charitableness is there, but it'll be practical too, the individuals and the situation and your own situation. Because it's also said you can't be charitable to the point that your own dependents are suffering. So in other words, if you have a particular lifestyle, it's an appropriate lifestyle, that has to be maintained. And then whatever's above that you would use to expand things or that's what you're giving 50% away. So it's not 50% of everything you get. That's how some would like it to be, but that's not reality. It's that having paid all the expenses and everything, what's the standard? Then what's above that, that's what you call profit. That's then what you would, give away, then put some away for, emergencies, and then what's left of that you would use for yourself. Like that. So so it can't cut into, you can't then take out of everybody else's. Like that. Unless it's something agreed. If everybody they want to, okay, we do that and we can give this money for this purpose, or, we want to give this for like they were making the deities in Mayapur, the Panchatattva, so then devotees would want to give things and give ornaments, gold and different things. And so, if they, that's one thing, but it's agreed in the family's giving. Does that make sense? So then they're taking out of what, does that make sense? Yeah. So it also has to be is that it can't be that, for show or for something that you give more than what you can give. But it doesn't mean that you're not giving. Yeah. And the funny thing is sometimes you see poor families give more than rich. It means the amount is not, but in proportion, they give many times more. I can remember when I was in one city in America, and I went to wealthy families and, general families, and actually very poor family. Like the house was one of those ones that it's stark. It's just like, very specific. There's a couch to sit on. There's a table and a few chairs to eat at, and maybe a cabinet for books or, like this, maybe the bed. But otherwise, there's nothing else in the house. And of those 3 families, they gave the biggest donation. Which wasn't much. It means they gave like $100 or something, which is decent. But everybody else gave, less, and they were so much more qualified. So that was very interesting like that. I think Indraduna Maharaj, when he goes to these very qualified but very stingy families, and they give a very small donation that's obvious like that, I heard he gives it back and tell them, I think you guys need this more than me, because they're so miserly, Yeah. Yeah, so the whole thing is, because it's the culture and is the personal dealings, then all these things take that thoughtfulness, take that personal element, that personal touch to make it very nice and all that. So that's always that aspect is there. So asking questions, it'll be something that's appropriate for the person you're asking from, and it's appropriate for yourself to apply. And yeah. And then and then prasad, same thing. It's just according to your position, what you give, according to others, then it deals accordingly, like that. So, yeah, work. You want to say? Oh. Wow. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how sometimes certain verses, the wording is exactly the same in another scripture. Like that, and then maybe one word's different, or half of the shloka will be that, and then another half, because it's using a different context or something. Yeah. Then Prabhupada also points out is that it's not that the rich man just gives a flower, a leaf, and some water to Krishna, and then he has a whole feast. It says, according to your position, you give. The point is that everybody can give, because everybody can afford to, some water. Or a leaf means a tulsi leaf, or that, or a flower, just something simple like that. Everybody can. That's the beauty of devotional services. Everybody can take part. And so he shouldn't feel bad that it's so simple, because for Krishna it's the devotion that matters. But part of the devotion is giving according to your position, your ability. That's one of the aspects that's learned by the brahmachari in his training, is to know what's appropriate for the time, place, and circumstance. How to dress, how to present yourself, how to deal like this. So it would also be these things. Your position. You have more facility. You do certain things. You do another way. It's just there is also that social aspect. So then that should be also properly practiced. So, yeah. It also depends on the family and their mood and everything. So in other words, if they're going to complain, then it shouldn't be. If they're not going to complain, they're quite cool with it, then it's fine. Like that. Because the point is giving, because that's if you're giving to a qualified person, then they'll all share that benefit. Like even though, let's say, the head of the family is given, but all of them will share in it. It's not just he gets the benefit. Does that make sense? Yeah. So then if there's a common mood and all that amongst them and all that, then yeah, you could do things like that. But Manu makes the point is that if there is going to be that suffering aspect, especially if they don't appreciate it, then you should be very careful of that. Same time is that you should consider that within the context. And so if it's just what they'll get back is so much more. In other words, a common charity, you would be very careful about doing that, because all you're going to get back is equal. But if it's has that spiritual aspect to it, to the Brahmins qualified that, then the benefit they'll get may be so much more. And if they don't necessarily understand, but you understand and want them to get that benefit, then they're getting. So then you have to balance it all. So so then you'll give that and know that they're going to grumble about it, and then you have to be comfortable with that grumbling for however long the grumbling goes on. So yeah, so it's all very personal. You have to look at it very carefully. Yeah. You got a few minutes. Okay. It is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22:107, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye udai. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. Right? So it's already there. You're just bringing out what's already there. So if you're laboring between the, how you say, the educational concept, are you putting in or are you taking out? Then, but the point is you have to do so it purifies, then it'll be manifest. So in devotional service, then you perform the activities connected to Krishna, so Krishna's pleased. Then, when it gets purified, then these things naturally come up. So you're actually doing both, like that. So by associating with those who have this dormant love for Krishna, as it's manifesting, then by associating with it, then you can gain that from them. You become inspired. Since Krishna consciousness is inherent in every living entity, everyone should be given a chance to hear about Krishna. Simply by hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, one's heart is directly purified, and one's original Krishna consciousness is immediately awakened. Krishna's consciousness is not artificially imposed upon the heart. It is already there. Yeah, so it's the natural position. The living entity understands that they are who they are, and that they have that aspect of happiness, and that happiness comes from a higher source. Because as an energy, it has to come from energetic. It can't come from somewhere else. So therefore then it's natural that the living entities in the spiritual world, they all have that natural affection for the Lord. Because if we're part of Him, when He's happy, we're happy. Like that. So if what we do makes Krishna happy, we'll be happy. And if what we do doesn't make Krishna happy, we won't be happy. And depending upon the level we're at, we do things that make Krishna happy. It may even have an effect beyond ourselves. Like that. You know, like when Krishna appeared, then the whole environment, the atmosphere was very, very pleasant, very attractive, very nice and everything. So it can have an effect beyond. But, you know, as is appropriate. When one chants the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the heart is cleansed of all mundane contamination. In the first stanza of his Sri Shiksastaka, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpanam Arjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairavi Chandarika Vitaranam, Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. Anandam Bhudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnam Ritasvadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Not only is the chanter, right, because otherwise if we're not always anxious, that means that it's already inherent there. Otherwise, why would we be anxious for it? Why would we be looking? Not only is the chanter of the Mahamantra purified, but the heart of anyone who happens to hear the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is also cleansed. Even the souls embodied in lower animals, insects, trees, and other species of life also become purified and prepared to become fully Krishna conscious simply by hearing the transcendental vibration. This was explained by Thakur Haridas when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired from him how living entities lower than human beings can be delivered from material bondage. Haridas Thakur said that the chanting of the holy names is so powerful that even if one chants in the remotest parts of the jungle, the trees and animals will advance in Krishna consciousness simply by hearing the vibration. This was practically proved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself when he passed through the forest of Jarikanda. At that time the tigers, snakes, deers, and all other animals abandoned their natural animosity and began chanting and dancing in Sankirtana. Right? Yes. Of course, we cannot imitate the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we should follow in his footsteps. Like that, yeah. We are not powerful enough to enchant the lower animals, such as tigers, snakes, cats, and dogs, or entice them to dance. But to chant the holy names of the Lord, we can actually convert many people throughout the world to Krishna consciousness. So they'll get benefit, but they may not take it up seriously. I remember one time, I'm not sure, I was sitting there, and there was a dog sitting there, very happily sitting on the ground like this. And I went up, sat in front of him, and started talking philosophy and that. And the dog was just looking at me for about 30 seconds. And after about 30 seconds, he actually got up, moved over about, some feet, and sat down again, just making the point of, he's good. It's like that. So, yeah, so it's we don't have that same potency as Lord Chaitanya did, that, then he gets up and starts dancing in ecstasy, the dog and stuff, yeah. Yeah, no, I was there for that ceremony, yeah. I can't remember what his name was, but Brajanath, okay. It was outside that big cathedral, yeah. Yeah. That was, yeah. And he stayed for the ceremony, but he seemed to have hopped off at some point. So then they were worried he'd fallen into Maya. So I'm not sure what happened to. Yeah, but they would definitely get just by hearing. It's just talking here, and even the bacteria will get benefit in that. So we're doing bacteria Sankirtan, right? Okay. How you say? Can't necessarily stop all the diseases, but we can convert their mentality. So, yeah. Contributing or distributing the holy name of the Lord is a sublime example of contributing or giving charity, the Dadati principle. So we'll stop here. Jai. So we'll continue tomorrow then, right? Okay. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Rupa Goswami Pada ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.